Well, as our world continues to turn and we find ourselves slipping into cozy sweaters and delighting in the crisp, cool fall mornings, the world's religions begin their seasonal shift as well. From the pagan festival of Samhain, when the veil between the living and the dead is believed to be the thinnest, to Dia de los Muertos, a blend of indigenous Latin American traditions and Catholicism that celebrates the remembrance of deceased loved ones, to an All Souls Day, when the Christian world honors the ancestors who came before. This is the time of year in which our spiritual holidays tend to look like the trees around us, at least in the U.S. We watch as the leaves change from greens to vibrant reds, brilliant oranges, and beautiful yellows, and eventually into lovely browns as nature's own explosive farewell. There is one particular religious holiday celebrated at this time of year, however, that breaks the mold of the theme of goodbye. And that is what Vinny brought to us this morning, the celebration of Diwali. So Diwali began in India, but it's now recognized all over the world. Official holiday in places from Fiji to Nepal to the United Kingdom and in some of our U.S. states as well. And though India is a diverse country full of various faiths and sects, the four major religions in India, Hinduism, Jainism, Sikhism, and to some extent Buddhism, come together during the festival of Diwali to celebrate it in their own unique ways. A good way to understand it is to imagine that Diwali is like a basket of candy, okay? The basket is made out of the general theme of Diwali, which are some of the themes that Vinny picked up today. The victory of dharma, or righteousness, over adharma, wickedness. Or you could say good, winning out over evil, knowledge over ignorance, light over darkness. Inside of that basket, we have all types of goodies. Each of us sticks our hand in the basket hoping for something different. Maybe you're hoping for chocolate or a bag of Sour Patch Kids. Maybe your parents are hoping for an orange for you. And perhaps those of us who hate joy and delight in their lives might hope to pull out a toothbrush. So too is Diwali different for each faith that celebrates it. The chocolate might be the Hindu religion welcoming the goddess of prosperity, Lakshmi, into their homes, or honoring the goddess Kali, a mother figure who brings liberation and destroys evil. The Sour Patch Kids could represent for Jains the light of their 24th and final supreme spiritual leader, Mahavira's achievement of nirvana, or his overcoming of spiritual darkness through wisdom. The orange in the basket could be the Sikhs celebrating the day of liberation for their sixth Guru Hargobind Sahib Ji, who was freed from imprisonment in 1619. And the toothbrush, well, that's to say that only some Buddhists celebrate Diwali, but those who do can choose to recognize it as the day that the Emperor Ashoka converted to Buddhism. You can see how each of these different religious celebrations would still relate to the general theme of Diwali, of good over evil, of knowledge over ignorance, of light over dark. The word Diwali is Sanskrit for row of lights, so it makes sense that it's often called the Festival of Lights. And those who celebrate it really live into that theme and that name as they decorate their homes and streets with lamps, candles, and lanterns, welcoming the light, the wisdom, the goodness into their lives. Communities gather together for parades and events full of dancing, singing, and setting off beautiful fireworks displays. Like some of the holidays we may be more familiar with here in the U.S., families often exchange gifts and share feasts with one another. Any good holiday has feasting, right? Yeah. With all of this celebrating to do, Diwali is stretched from its one day each year, this year it was October 20th, into 4 or 5 days, just to fit it all in. It is lovely that we share a world with so much diversity and beauty in it, that we can rejoice in our neighbors' celebrations and they in ours, and together we can learn what is most important to each other and the meaning of each of our faiths. So when you get home from trick-or-treating on Friday night and dump your goodies in the middle of the living room like I know we all do, and you begin sorting through it and making piles and start talking about what you're ready to trade, right? And also you tax your adults, right? They get a few pieces, okay? May you delight in the array of differences that you find, even if you do pull a toothbrush. Amen, and blessed be.
Thank you, Holling. All right. Finding the sweet amongst the bitter is pretty easy during the events surrounding Halloween. There's sweetness everywhere, and we need it, don't we? Lately, there's been a lot on the news that tastes pretty bitter. Or maybe it's something at school that's not going well. Or maybe you've lost someone close to your heart, a beloved person, a beloved pet. In our Time for All Ages today, we saw our old friend Charlie Brown trying to trick or treat with his sibling and his friends. His costume is all wrong. He's the only ghost with too many holes in his sheet. And instead of compassion for the hard time he's having, he gets a rock at every single house. And maybe that's how it feels for you sometimes, too. Just rocks and bitterness. Maybe you feel like old Charlie Brown waiting for someone to stick up for you and say, hey, that rock isn't fair, when we all got candy. For someone to just stand up for you. Or someone to say, just because your costume is different doesn't mean it's wrong. Sometimes things are just bitter, and sometimes they are not. Sometimes it depends on your perspective. For example, maybe Charlie Brown is the ghost getting the best air with the most breathable costume going. We don't know. Maybe he's the ghost, the only one out on Halloween who can see all of the oncoming traffic, all those holes in his sheets. Maybe things are not always what they seem. Does anybody else find it suspicious that a kid as nice as Charlie Brown had somehow offended every adult in his neighborhood, such that they would intentionally all give him rocks when they gave all of the other children candy? Unless maybe they knew that Charlie Brown wanted rocks. Maybe old Chuck was a rock hound. Everybody must have known he was a collector, and maybe that was the nicest thing they could give him. Maybe his friends didn't stand up to offer their candy because they all knew about his love of rocks, and they were so happy for him getting exactly what he wanted. I don't know for sure, but I like to imagine the best in people. I like reframing to find the sweetness in the bitter when I can. It's a practice that helps me when the bitter feels heavier than the sweet. In our brief reading today from the novel, The Hotel on the Corner of Bitter and Sweet, the main character shared his tradition with us of getting a piece of candy as he departed the funeral of a beloved to help him remember in a hard time that life is sweet, and a coin to buy more candy on the way home when the bitter is just too overwhelming. And it can be overwhelming, and that's when we can lean on each other a bit. Sometimes the best thing we can do is be in a community with each other, sharing our candy and our favorite rocks. Do you remember back to water communion, where we talked about what communion means? A communion that is sharing or exchanging together. In a moment, I'm going to invite the children forward for a candy communion. When I say come, you'll form 2 lines right here in front of Reverend Charlotte and myself, and you'll receive a short blessing and your choice of candy with no sugar, lots of sugar, or a rock, to remind you that there can be good things that come out of tough situations. And then you'll go back like a butterfly wing to your adults. Adults, we won't leave you out. When the children are done receiving the communion here, Colin and Elliot and Liam and Matthew are going to be our junior ushers, passing candy bowls to you after they come forward. Okay, children, are you ready? Come form 2 lines here. We love seeing all of you.